Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Kande la je gön ye do go ra ga jo zo bon de shon de che ye ya mo gön ye lo sa se la je ba ne de je zo zo de ye na ga se de be de che ze la ma ye be zo ga ta lo de be so na je jon do de mo je je ya shu zo xie jie zhe gu jia wei lu zhen to ge san na wei ge yu le xie cha be be jie la me zhe Che Let us cultivate the altruistic motivation or bodhicitta motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should all participate in this Lamrim discourse on the stages of path to enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. Allow me to read a couple of pages from the Lamrim Chemo, the great treatise on the stated path to enlightenment, volume number 3 in the English translation, page 240, to give you the blessing of lineage oral transmission followed by explanation.
Tena tamje yemini je yemi zeba ma yin je ngobo ta je ran shi me de je tamje we ce la ran shi me je ba yin be te de we tamje we ce de la ran shi ba ke la no ngobo de ran shi me ba tamje ba do ge jong ye la yin ne ye de de ra me de be jong de nga la me je be do yin be tamje me bi ju je ju me no de ran shi me ba do me ba ni Chebarchen chewe ro ke de musun la so bi shido ji musun la so ba ga yang me ba so ba yang ar se se ji lo ro ba da sama da chi ja ro ngo de bia bi ba me ja da me chi me ba da ba yin ji be ke jung ge ma da ma ji me ba da ba bi de de yo ku sam ba lo ngo ba rang ge se ji musun ji pe Gona tena ya oma be ngobo tam je ra xin je dom bo ye ma no ngo sun dan ti ye je wa yang ngo bu no ji be je ra ye dong go de te da na me ba yin be ti me go go jong de sam ba yin de xiu de ne zong de le re xi ngo bo ngo sun je me ne de ba xi no kong ge ngo num me ji ro Musum tene me ba yin she ti le no ti de ba yam ke de je go da je go so je me ni mo ba dong ji to bo she to ba she no me no de ya de bo ji je re je no mo ba da je no de ni musum je she je wa de be she ro dong ba yin Ngobo la mi bara che ba kha yin ba te yang tong ba yin de je che me me do me me no go ba yin me de be de la ngobo ta ni tong ba we she me kha yin ba de ba ma ye no wa she so be je ri chi ja ba le ye de me je so ma ti de ba tong ba ye de ma yu rong bo jang shi je ba ju ba je me no ba de no ba chen tong ba ye de me de do she ma Deba kaya me kong so je ta rung jung re ra kong ge je ta bra ye ba ma nam la ni so mo ni so mo de me re ba ti je re yo ni la de ni be se je ba le mo e me o mo ba na ba de la mi do yo che go do pa ba le yo no me do ba she so kong ba shi zhong so ta rang ge mo zhe Ziyu ki be da ye de ba na la ngo ba ye ba ma wa rang ge wo zhe ba de da ngo me ma su zo ji ngo ba no ye tong xi ba da ba je ke ba de ba ni ye sun jin be shi ji de ba chang be na ro no me ya be hong so me lo ye me la so be cho je yi zu ma so xie cho da yin ba现在社会我是没去过，不到因为嘛，谁个是些吧些弄日不的用送，日不的送呗，弄这不是。看见谁的，但是我没个打到。现在小妹这吧的，这个同能去，你们不给把人搞不就我些。小妹妹就是的，我没有送了，天上给别谁你都能行了。我不下把人的东西把老些那么的，没把的你们个把送把那个说的，等那让心去动不，我不让心去我不给没那个小妹把老小妹把送把人的弄的车这把这。这把这里边电影着就是你。定嘛多心我不能接上心，也有东西不知道我不能开没用呢。天天那个我们白让我们个当妈妈也别尊到那些家不要整的，说先开了我们先说先收些了说没。 돈에 대다디 시어셔 거러저 지어미베나 아니 지어미 고고시 송보니 거절이 이라시지야 바바 도도비 유지베 거절러시나니 데메버 진르시네 메고 바르송비 티지시네 메고 바르송바 미데 메와서바 메레비 유신지 가자 돈도 샤오 디엔데버고 지경 여바 많이 바라송바디 니메바랑 그베센지베 가자 동고지메 메발레 테테레 여바 송니민디디고 고 카우시 쉐송 고다오시에서바인 이베 티니 제마다베 메시바마인 데존돌 주바이네 주바다 제마이네 지웨 제메 제망고시 따르르고 어버데요디 유주르시데게데 진데다시여 때는 좋아 민저원 제바컨시랑신 제바컨시 제바컨시 때니 종라 때니 종팅이 돈이메나 케디 제바라히여 제바텔라 수인도 타원나랑 수수대인 티제 랭가 데메도시 미길라 션저발로 라시여바 러시아나랑이 지연라데는 좀메노라 짐바베티 수연도 두메노 숨비셔로 세셀레랑로 탐제베비 셔르시에 숨바 롤로 메베 쿠마인 데테네 랑지데 담저 메베 돈 비셔로 조발에 처음에 숨바네 랑로 수 용자데 예순 제제니가 랑시제 투바 데베 랑신제 투바른데 베베 체구데 베체 유준제 랑신제 투바른데 테니 텅니스 테니섬 마데바 준데 주데 제지버리 베다바제네 제네가 비순진 고자로 메주디 리피타우스소 데미구베 셰로시베 토인저로 메바네 데문데 롱딘제발이 고자 쇼라 송바도미 예데 강기제르 고자 쇼라 니순제바 수용아 당야 용아 저 체니 저거 수제바 미제바 니로 유 수제비 수용아 저 마제바 수제바 미시데 수용아 수제바 니가라 시지마 저 제르 디제르 보보다 디예 제르 체바도 마지베 삼바미요 시 뭐뭐 그베리비 다미스비 지드르네 라지냐 마저 그게 켈레메 바마고비 셔도 티시주도 용진도 정벌이 셔리부 람절라 제바다 마제베 시 거기 마지베 시도 제제나 티바나 티지 가면 티지가 토바가 나와가 셔리비 원 토바다 토바메바 메 담시 티바노 가르다오다 티 요미지 인기지에는 대한 타이데인에 도다베데 송버 베데제네 데다케 랑바 송데 중제레 시대인조서 니스 타주로위 셔르 제보마지비시기 토바까지 니정오베로 미르비시르마다베지데 타이데 제데 토바 토바라 레디 토바 레레게 토바 랑바디 신주스 용샤와데 순제바 다지 체와다 마도 마메게 뭐지 타이도 순제비 수용 순제바 셰도 셰바쇼 다 키다 슌좀데 데레샤다 카르사 기진 가지 그러서 전화기에는 경주월에는 그래서 켈랑다 들에 강하여 말했어. 좀도다 들에 농무 전화디 디 롱디기 롱동디게 됐다디 이 롱디 dinleşi kelimesi de tagaz kelimesi o majanşin de kelimesi o arası da de longdi kaje longdo kaje ha mo sin pa sehi şia de şada de
So Geshe read from 240 to 244 to give us the blessing of lineage oral transmission. And now we are back to where we left off last week. Pick up from there and continue. So I think basically we're back to page 241. I think we stopped then. Just to recapitulate a little bit what we talked about where we left off last time is this, that according to certain critique or school of thought, they presume that Prasangika Madhyamikans do not have a position or assertion. Okay? And so in order to kind of support that contention, they started to quote from many works, right? Refutation of objections of the Gyeltsen in Tibet and others. Yeah? But the point is that really they did not interpret the statement inaccurately. So because they decoded the meaning that really Prasangika Madhyamikans have no position at all, right? They don't have any assertion or position. Yes, in a text there are certain statements which literally seem to say that Prasangika Madhyamikans have no assertion, but it has to be decoded within a proper context, which is that Prasangika Madhyamikans do not have assertion of intrinsic reality or existence. It doesn't mean that Prasangikas do not have any kind of a position or assertion at all. What it really means is Prasangika Madhyamikans do not make assertion of intrinsic existence, intrinsic reality. So therefore, they do not have assertion of intrinsic nature. So that should be the accurate interpretation of the statement, which the critics missed, and then they started to allege that Prasangika Madhyamikans, well, you said nothing exists. You have no position at all,
This is Rishi Musum making the Rang make your Musum did never shave a laying in the conjure. Any Ranshi men and Musum you toya didn't know that they are going to take me to see. Or the Muma that some of them mentions a good that Ranshi mentions over. Tea lay the Messia, the Ranshi miss Kenyan that you miss La Mother. Some of the Hijanam Shati US in any Zundo and Jawali Sheshas. Maybe say I tell you in the tiny the mess love your Maris, in the Ranshi miss love is she the Langam Dux, or the tea end of Yasi.
So basically, this particular critique, if you will, or school of thought rather, that's represented here, or as a matter of fact, all the essentialists, in the sense those who believe in true existence, intrinsic reality, when they hear Prasangikas say that there is no intrinsic existence or reality, for them, like, how can it be? Which means that nothing exists at all. But we all experience, right, visual perceptions, auditory experiences. So forms exist, sound exists. What do you mean nothing exists? It doesn't seem to fly over them. And of course, it is because of their position, they miss the accurate position of Prasangika Madhyamikans. So what Prasangika Madhyamikans have been saying all along in many different argumentations is that, we don't mean things don't exist at all or even conventionally. That's not our assertion of position at all, right? And that's why you're attacking us when we say things don't exist intrinsically. Then you say, how can it be? Forms exist, sounds exist, smell exists. What do you mean, That's what we don't mean. We don't mean these things don't exist at all. What we are saying is these do not exist intrinsically in and of themselves, right? There's a difference between saying that they don't exist at all or they don't exist intrinsically. You miss the point, So all the arguments you're laying against us is basically because you did not understand our position,
Shijabali, you're the Medicine Sumba, Teen Jabali, Tomamal, Yurimbu, Sujam, German, but then Ken the Tomban, you do to see my and Deva Kaya, maybe Kons Shitter room, Jungdele Kong said, Tabar Yoba, Mawa Nala, Yiso Mawa, De Meriba, Tingi Cherry, Yilatin, Sunjamba, the Lema, Omaba, Nabata La Mi to Shigit to Pavali, Yoda made the Shiso, Kangbashi Chongsos. So that is my Pavala Yoda made the Tin Joel and daughter of any. Because Russian Tomama, using ball because Sunjin, any Johnson, the John to Maris, New Maris. Chain the Tomba you do Mundu, here Marino. And then Devayam, maybe Kung Chidarun study in the Tomba you made Russian to a mess a lot of the Kelly Kaya Majic in the Kung's Dumar was Hijo Hundi. What did Chedo? The Kajik Kurama, 60 to much of share. Sukuna how you the Sumi Damis and Yishan hailing where the Jondi Shudua. The Gonzina and Sumi Damis said, the Sumi about the dam of Maris. So Ranshimi, Daranshimi said, what did Chever job over this? The Kajiko trees teacher my until treat over this. Said this on the in the teeth long the than the Tiju killing the Tamjaka maybe in his room in those. That Timazin Jungdele Kong is a Tabayo Ma Nam La Nismo Medevatin Chet in a tin Sunjaba Lema Omo Navate La Minutos. What did it? Oman Jungdele Kong is a Tabayo Tabayo the Dovetas in the Yoma, there were. That Nismo said the tea, the Pikaji to the Zarawa. Then you shut the Dovetas about the Yoma, any shut out the wrong thing to come this Chonga to the big Karsa, George of Kazijina. And the Delia, Sujaman, Lema, Omaba, Nambata, La Menito, Shedal, they are Zubat of Kazijavina, and to rebel Langan, Jones who had Yomaris. The one for Nange Yomaris. May say that the USA Shijing Lago Marva, Rashi, me, Tanya de Lagora. Or should I dig any kind of never joke to Maris?
No, so now we are on page 242. And Geshe's explanation pertains to the citation from refutation of objections or Zhendog in Tibetan, and followed by the commentary passage and Aryadeva's 400 stanzas on the middle way or Chetuk Shedak, Shibgyaba, Umashiyo in Tibetan. So what Geshe has explained is this, that according to Aryadeva's, right, who is my first footnote, the main disciple of Arya Nagarjuna, in his 400 stanzas, really he has explained the distinction between the existence and non-existence according to Prasangika Madhyamikans. And so existence, according to Prasangika Madhyamikans, means something existing conventionally, nominally. Right? Things are nominally existent, conventionally existent, kunzopto in Tibetan. When they say things don't exist, right, they mean things do not exist intrinsically, don't mean like things don't exist at all. Okay? So that distinction has been explained by Aryadeva, and again Chandrakirti has kind of reclarified that in his works. And Chandrakirti also added his viewpoint. He said, well, because of that Prasangika Madhyamikan's clear position, differentiating between existence and non-existence, no critics can really challenge that position. There is no kind of a hole to poke through in that position. Okay? And then, of course, further what Geshe explained, referring to the passage from the commentary, is that according to Prasangika Madhyamikans, the middle view philosopher at the highest level, let me put it this way, things are merely labeled or imputed. Talk about taksam, right? They are merely labeled or imputed. Okay? And so, so one of the maybe epithets we can use for the Prasangika Madhyamikans are, they are the proponents of that merely labeled proposition or theory. Whereas the rest of other schools, we can refer to them as a dualistic speakers. They talk about dualism, right? So all those, who have that dualistic position, they have failed to understand the real Prasangika's position, which is things exist conventionally, but they don't exist intrinsically or inherently, if you will. Okay? And because of not understanding that differentiation, then they started to debate with them, argue, and how can you say that? Things exist, forms exist, sounds exist, and all of those exist, but you said they don't exist, that's not making any sense. You are contradicting yourself. And so they kind of think that Pasangikas end up having no positions or assertions of their own. As a matter of fact, Pasangikas do have position, which is very clear, right? Things exist nominally, conventionally, they don't exist intrinsically. Okay? And so the issues where we come up is sometimes in different sutras and the commentary treatises, if you take the statement at the face value, then it exactly sounds like what they are saying, which Geshe did not mention the title, but I think the title is the Heart Sutra, right? In the Heart Sutra, Pranjana Paramita Hridayam Sutra, Sherab Nyingpo in Tibetan, we find statements literally say, no form, no ear, no nose, no right. So if you take it literally, it really sounds like forms don't exist, right? And all other things don't exist. But that's not the real meaning of the statement. The real meaning is a very profound one, which we have to understand within the context, right? Contextualized meaning is that forms do not exist in and of themselves intrinsically. Sounds do not exist in and of themselves. So therefore, no sound, no form, meaning that they don't exist intrinsically, but we don't mean to say they don't exist at all. They do exist conventionally, right? So missing that whole interpretation of what it is, so all these kind of debates, and argumentations are going back and forth. Okay.
Oh, this is because Changso the Tita Rang Motive with Zio Capitayo Nal Nguban Yabama Rang Motive Deva, Nguba Meva, Suzo Yit, Nguban Tonshi Tanyu Tomato, Yinji, Sunjibi, Sunminjibi, Shiju the Tangbena, Ronlu maybe, Kung the Mirun Las. You may last a short young, is very short of a but Shindu saw not machine go by a tongue. You may do more city comes Shivashin. That is what that should have just tell you the Yokan and water the Taus on the Shavatella and then over Ronshi Martin never do this in any engine Ronshi Toku this Yati. So I Geshe. Young Kaji, not Ronshi Martin may do this, starting as a Kaji to the Roa. She said that. 최사집에 윤대랑도는 이 태그머리 돈신 유동에 도리스. 어 권이 다 유다다 딱다니 비게 고아티 저기 이 가제 죄나 텔이야 태교를 경문주비 시시데 중대래 된다 파발라고 여대메도 세대 정시 시샤세고다.
So we are on top of page 243. So according to Prasangika Madhyamigans, Umatenjurwa in Tibetan, they refute what is called substantial existence, zayu, things existing substantially. Because for them, things are merely labeled. That's how they actually exist. Okay? They're merely imputed phenomena. So because of that position, they refute what is called the substantial existence or zayu in Tibetan. Okay? And so because other schools, they have found it very challenging and difficult to understand the very position. Things are merely imputed or labeled. They don't exist substantially. So for them, they started to hear this different message. They are thinking that, Prasangikas think that they don't exist at all, anything. Right? Because for them, if something exists, it must exist intrinsically, right? When Prasangikas refute intrinsic existence, for them saying, you are a nihilist. You are saying everything don't exist, but they exist. Just what you're saying, So they don't get the message properly, right? Because for them, if something exists, it has to exist intrinsically. And Prasangikas saying that nothing exists intrinsically. They say, you see, you have no position. You are a nihilist. You're a bunch of all that. So they started to say that. Yeah. So therefore, the way Prasangikas make distinction between existence and non-existence, they're not able to get it, because in the context of, remember, called Mushi Gok, right? That analysis where we refute mushi didirwage.
타이 무시쟁고스야 뭐 타이죠고 유도 예바 메지 있어야 되와 무시해야 돼 예바 메지 동어도 예바 메지 메바 메지 애니갈 메지 이가 말리 메지 있어야 지와
되는 상발 란레 메지 셴나 메지 니가 메지 세더버데.
그 말이 근데 그런 무시쟁고 댄스야 로지어로 타이 저거 리베 타이쟁고 리베 멤버지 근데 너도 댄스 가요 봐 뒤는 무시쟁고서 왜
디키 땅에 디하고 칭
무시쟁고서 됐어요 가지 가자 저래 무시쟁고 동어담바 예바 메메자 메바 니가 니가 많이 메겠어야 돼 어때
되는 상발 유발레 마제.
어서
메발레 지금 말고.
니가 메게 니가 많이
메발레
메겠어 돼 뭐기대
No. Because there's so many sets of analysis in Buddhism, right? Refuting four-point analysis of all kind, which when I translate in English, 4-point analysis looks like everything is 4-point analysis. Now, what are we talking about? Even I get confused. So I have to go back to our teacher to explain, which 4-point analysis is this one now? I think the reference is, let me see, where's the reference on page, where's that fantastic word called head or somewhere. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so the 4-point analysis in this context is, how intrinsically things could not have been produced by something that's existent. How things could not have been produced intrinsically or ultimately is the word, right, in Tibetan, from something that does not exist at all. Things could not have been produced ultimately from both existence and non-existence, or neither. So that's the kind of 4-point analysis we're talking about. So in that context, Prasangikas have established, their position very clear, which the bottom line is, as we already said it, that things do exist nominally, conventionally, but they don't exist intrinsically. Okay? And if we don't get that distinction, then we end up, arguing with them, which basically reflects the true extreme viewpoint. Either we become eternalists, we reify that things must exist intrinsically, right? That's the extreme of eternalism. Or we think that Prasangikas is a bunch of nihilists, and we fall into the extreme of nihilism. How we get caught up in the dualistic perception, and we don't understand. Really, I don't understand what language you're talking. I have no idea. This is all I'm hearing. I'm telling you, either you are saying nothing exists at all, which means you are nihilist, and Prasangikas is like, hello, we are not, because we accept things conventionally. Or you must accept like us that things exist intrinsically, and the person can say, no, hello, we don't agree with you. Then I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're saying. So this is how we get caught up in all that dualistic argumentation.
Rigwa tuibal sumbe long tin drivers, that rigwa tuibal take you a killing the Kaya, rigwa tuibal long kiddy con Changa, what this one. Or did Jabal that have got the Kong said, maybe a data. He showed me that Yumba, Nangyeva Gavan, he showed maybe Jose over maybe sooner. They are long saying it down, Ranshi la Mobo Shaba in the Tonshibe Balashina, and Tim Meba Tommy, you move Gava somebody in gay sauce, that is the what you bality show me what that he tonsona. Any new Gangapon to Dajima told the silver war. The Dajima told us that the Ranshi to be Tombatel Majache, Toja never Tombajita, the Demi Tomba the Shavina, and should have the Demi gone anything in your moon, I think you are Chagravasi.
So we're in the middle of page 243, and where you see a passage, a reference to Chandrakirti's commentary on Arya Nagarjuna's 60 stanzas of reasoning, Rigpa Chukchupa in Tibetan. So I'm giving you the Tibetan title, which stays as it is. Translators can translate in many ways, and you get confused. I'm a part of that, right? So, Rigpa Chukchupa, 60 stanzas of reasoning. And so where, one of the challenging words, again, statements like, there are no real things. What does real things mean? Okay. So again, many other schools think there are no real things should be understood as nothing exists at all. Okay. But that's not what the real meaning is. Ngobo meba in Tibetan, no real thing. But that has to be understood in terms of there are no intrinsically existent real things. Are you with me? Because that certain statement which says, if you experience almost like that there are no real things, then that will help you to counteract your afflictive emotions, and then you will be liberated from samsara, and you can become an arhat. So now they interpret it as no real things, like, so there are no real functional things. So how, that's the meaning, right? They decode it from such statements. So now they think that Prasangika Madhyamikans are nihilists completely. They're denying the, functionality of things. And so how can you, experience that and counteract your afflicted emotions and you become an arhat, right? And Prasangika says, yeah, we are not saying that. If that's what we mean, we are contradicting. How can you simply meditate of, right, nothing exists at all, and that kind of a knowledge will help you to counteract your afflictive emotions, and you will free from that, and then you become an arhat. And who says that? We are not saying that. What we mean is that if you reflect on that there are no intrinsically existent real things, which is the ultimate nature of reality, then you realize that you meditate on it, it becomes an antidote to counteract your delusions, afflictive emotions. Then you will be liberated and you can become an arhat, right? So that's the real meaning. Yeah.
다 이전에는 런신 용어버 케면에 케렘비 초메와로 초메버 숨바인데 스타런 초메 대기월 초데 가야 메세야디 런시트베 케렌도 초즈 메시고요리스 롱디 콘디 리바 투지벤 데와 창발레스 중데가 되면 건다 때 인데와 주 취인데 야 그래서 띵모보신 뭐는 랑이 용소 또 용소 또 버시와 대달라 뭐버 켈리니 요는 예벌 코너에 내자데 해던 중예 따위 미시 마룽지 텔레신 저버 주시 뭐버는 랑 생이 론도 벌 뭐버 켈리니 숨비시로 다들 뭐버 세야디 뭐버 유 세야디 에네 랑 생이 지바시 저봐 당 메세야 될 러시 메바시 어 카르사디 뭐버 유 세야디 단다 데르와 유 세야디 뭐버 러시 이바시 저 다 메시도 러시 메발 메 뭐버 메바시고 뭐도 제일 지당 동시디베 또 뭐버 메바시고요 말이시 어디 가르스는 디 가르서 중디엘 리포트 주지베 저와 때 타네 어디네 뭐디 참자도 해야지电影 저와주 최대 등보 응보만이 생기도 버시고 되다라 응보 키엘에 연는 될라다 되자다 해당도 도도 말이지 엔데 란시 마저도서는 되자 해당대 도저리 엔데 란시 유튜브 켈라나 엔데 되자 해당대 도도 말이지 엔 송샤세로와 어디데 되자 해당 중앙에 따위 미시 마룽지 텔레 신 저거 주시 응보랑 도도 볼 응보 켈은 무슨 것이 어디 응보 시대잖아 Demba trouble don't do all sigur mother. She got the Tojo never over sigur.
So we are towards the bottom of page 243, that whole passage, which ends with Chandrakirti's commentary on the 6 stanzas of reasoning. Yeah. So when I come across terms like, say things don't exist, or there are no things, meba. So what it really means is there aren't truly existent or intrinsically existent things. Okay? And so that interpretation has to be really kind of ingrained in our mind. Otherwise, we might, make the same mistake as many other schools of thought, because they started to kind of hear what they probably wanted to hear, which is like they think that Madhyamikans are saying that there are no things, meaning that they don't exist at all. Or Madhyamikans thinks, there are things, then they think, well, things must exist intrinsically or essentially, right? That's completely the opposite of what the Prasangika Madhyamikas are saying. So we kind of, face the challenge right here. So Chandrakirti, great Indian master, in his commentary on Arya Nagarjuna's 6 stanzas of reasoning, explains that at the bottom of page 243 and top of page 244, as Geshe explained, that many of these schools have really faced a challenge to understand the notion or the concept of dependent arising. Pratit samudpat, Tendel in Tibetan. because they really fail to understand the profundity or the subtlety of that dependent arising, so then they are not able to decode the meaning of terms such as no things or things, right? Because we can differentiate in Tibetan with ngobo, and Tunjin means functional things. The functional things exist, but the ngobo is used as a terminology to mean true existence, intrinsic existence. So there's no such, there are no such things. And so if we kind of believe there are no things, meaning there are no things at all, reflecting on that, how can we counteract our afflicted emotions such as attachment, anger, and all other things? Because that does not become an antidote, right, to remove or to reduce anger, attachment, you just name it, whatever. That's not the point of Prasangika Madhyamikas. Prasangika Madhyamikas' point is, if you reflect on the non-intrinsic nature of things, right? Things are non-intrinsically existent, empty of intrinsic existence, whichever way we want to go with it, then that knowledge or the realization become an antidote to counteract your afflictive emotions, including attachment and anger or hostility, and then you can really be free from all of that.
어디서 거기서 중도의 시작부터는 초시 개념을 들다 중재 가서 아니 다들 중도의 시작 농지 정원이 초시 개념을 해야 될 책세래 이니 정시 집에 개념을 메시니 이니 스틸 저와자도스 시작되는 이 대저와 시 책세를 승부에 돈이 대다리 시월 샤오스 어디 주장နေတာ아니 기지 가지수 농장에 뒤에 강가 기지 당부됐다 가지 그런 대바디 난게를 바까라와 다 단다 드린 신데 마데 농동되게 마시기도 와 어디래야 나고 이디 농동되게 제도 다 농동들 가래서 dor수도나 근데 메시아 강가 나시 메시거리시 그래봐 유세 타니도 땡디 샤지 태버시거리시 그래서 엄마 발야 준제 베데베 저바다 라시 티베서 또 수고 말이시
So kind of we are on the top of page 244, and Chandrakirti's commentary on Arya Nagarjuna's 66 stanzas of reasoning, as well as other commentary, clear words, and refutation of objections, all of them really kind of come together, and agree with the accurate interpretation of such terms as no things or things, or existence or non-existence for that matter, from Prasangika Madhyamika's perspective. Yeah. So the bottom line is this. Okay, so I start to summarize here a little bit. As what we have been through for a couple of weeks is that, for a while we really kind of witnessed the debate between those who claim themselves to be Prasangika Madhyamikans, but there are a lot of potholes in their positions. They didn't realize all these contradictions. So a bunch of that whole argumentation is, there's a lot of holes you need to patch up in your contradictions. Contradiction. So we just point out, right? That's one thing we did. So that today what we have seen is, you have a lot of misinterpretations of the statements in different texts. Misinterpretation. Listen to us. This is the accurate interpretation, right? That's what we have basically done, So the bottom line is this. When Prasangika Madhyamikans say no existence, meba, it should be understood as meaning that there is no intrinsic existence. Rangshingi meba in Tibetan. Yeah. When they say existence, it should be understood as that conventional existence. Things exist conventionally. It does not mean things exist intrinsically. Okay? When they say no existence, it doesn't mean things don't exist at all. It means they don't exist intrinsically. So that's the bottom line, right? That's what we have to just kind of grab at it and keep in our mind.
Timmy was using it. Ngan Gian Karsa, maybe ngani ji mungo go se ta di go se di tige go se ga sa de ji da yu ji ga sa di yu ji ga sa se ji yu ji ga sa se di do do xin de le yu ji ga sa se wo wa yu ji ga sa do do ge de se wo wa wo ji so na di ni na ngani ji mungo go se di ni yu ji ga sa le xe na yu ji ga sa ran yi zhi ba me ba yin ba zang en di yu de xe ni ngani mungo se la ne de la ya你酒店这个问题是我的，这边我觉得些呢，民国把送吧，没得呗，有些一个在找到吧，小我听不着，现在我这样没啥的，找到的遇到有些刚才以前的，有些刚才那些呢，你快刚才的没有酒店，现在俺民国是人听不懂啊是，但看来那个，现在到有些刚才的些个人是，刚才我那的。现在你们告诉我没得别，有些一找到了小我地方是的，这样没有些的，看见让些有把找到别，有几个在有些个把音乐为哪呢？这样没为哪些的，有几个在的这样没为哪？你俺的这样们个写送吧，我都现在听嘛的是有几个在现在听嘛的，有些个在的写个的是，但看见。有几个在的这样没有些，有些个在的他也得要了吧？有些个在电子的吧？
电子的
电子的吧？这么的，有几个在没有，一定现在俺民国是人这个门都是我说的，是吧？这是不是？
有几个在的软性主播的话嘅。
当然有的，
那啲咩被军政嘅？
啲咩现在革命生这个嘛吧？国家个要了。
我搞过这个么来嘛？
但有些的电子的要是吧，就他也要是吧，他也要嘛是吧？我就说，
他也就改要么噻？
有些的是
有些电子电改要么噻？
电子改要么是那个侧面改是个这样，电子现在的我这可是年不写了个方面要说么子，我这侧面改。
当时改给这的。
但的侧面改呀对吧？但的改的侧面改嘛，可是没改侧面改是的没不同这个了。
我这边我没不是Thank you. I was a bit lost somewhere because terms are now I got it. So we are on page 244. Let me see. Yes, we are on page 244, the beginning passage. So that this whole argumentation, which seems very complex, is we have to keep two things in mind. Hopefully I can simplify it. When we talk about object of negation, gaksha, what needs to be negated or refuted, right? Object of refutation or negation, gaksha. It should be understood could be understood in terms of two things. Objectively speaking, or from objective point of view, and from subjective point of view. Yeah? From objective point of view, the object of negation is intrinsic existence, according to Pasangikas. And intrinsic existence does not exist at all, because that could be refuted through valid reasoning, through valid cognitions, and all of those things, right? Yeah. But there is object negation from subjective point of view, which is grasping at intrinsic reality. Now, the grasping at intrinsic reality exists. So you cannot refute it through reasoning because it exists. Okay? The only way you can counteract is by realizing the emptiness of intrinsic reality, which is an antidote to get rid of the grasping. You cannot use the logic to deny the existence of the subjective object of negation because it exists. Are you with me so far? Okay, so that's what I was trying to understand. So there are two. So just because intrinsic reality does not exist, you cannot use that as a justification to say that grasping at intrinsic reality does not exist. Because it does not fly through. It does not make any sense, isn't it? Because in reality, for Pasangikas, nothing exists intrinsically, period. Because they bring all the reasonings in the world and the valid cognitions to refute that whole idea. Okay? But from the subjective point of view, there is a grasping at the intrinsic reality, or the intrinsic reality does not exist, but there's a grasping at it. So that existence is accepted. Pasangikas cannot refute it through, they don't, as a matter of fact, through reasoning and valid cognitions. They simply say it exists. The only way you can remove it or challenge it is by way of realizing the emptiness of intrinsic reality. Okay, so those are two different things, right? We have to keep on two different levels. Okay.
어디시 가서 티 제발 구시 정 이거 많이 봤음 티니 매와는 랑 생이 저베 각샤 구시 이라 매발라 대다 여바 송니 디디 까고 시 최고도 시소모 인지스테레다 다다 다 공지디 가자디 유진 가자 어디 고야디 유진 가자디 데레세 랑 생이 저베 그때는 가자 시베 다 셔러지 가도 뭐랬어요. 저 타니에서 가고 메세야디 가자 고시니까 니 기마다 보니까 아래서 맞아. 지당이야 아니 딘진디 바 엔 세메 가사디 힘 메어도 딘진 가가 여바당 애니 가사 네메토가 여바 어디 짠 여머스야 여머스 디디 가사 디 기마다 미셰 마인드 시디잖아. 애니 가자 고시 리바이나 다 세마인데 디세 고자기 딘진다 어디 니모서 강가 기마답을 간제다 정신이 뭐죠 가자 고지다 가자 닌가 아니 기마답을 티 켈레 밀어 말레스 세다 대교발이야 디네 남기지요 말레시고다
알아 유진 뭐좀 가자 디로하게 가자다 고자다 사마로 기마답을 해서 유모 가자 기마답을 아요 말고 메로
딘진다 다데 뇨로 가래다 디게 까트 까고 그러지 신의 정신 집에가요 말로
no 알아 다 유기 가자 있나 기마답을 까라요 말고
요 말다 유기 가대 요 말로 단데 이제 가다 돼도
just to make sure that I am still sane here translating for you so here I mean the object of negation or refutation, gaksha, from the subjective point of view, is something that's existent, okay? Which is the grasping at intrinsic reality. So it exists. But we can do something about it. You know, we can find an antidote to counteract it, to reduce it, to get rid of it. So all of these things are accepted within the framework of how things are just like an illusion, maya, isn't it? Even this grasping the intrinsic reality, which we are trying to get rid of, is an illusion-like. Okay? And the antidote or the method we use to counteract it, you know, the realization of emptiness of intrinsic reality is an illusion like it, isn't it? So illusion like it means whether it is the object of negation or the refutation, or whether it is antidote or the method we use to counteract it, none of this exists intrinsically. They are non-intrinsically existent, and they are just like an illusion. Okay, Gyuma, so that's important to be kept in mind. Because when we think in terms of the object of negation from objective point of view, intrinsic existence, we can't talk about illusion-like. Why? It doesn't exist at all, you know. So you can't say, you know what, wow, the intrinsic reality is like an illusion-like. No, it doesn't exist at all. So you just can't use it. See that? The difference, okay?
주바주니 현대 주바 현바주 들바 셔셔서 유명랑보도 그냥 랑징대단 랑보 가지 가야 가지 파면 요마래 어디나기 단다디 가도 나자 가가 주만 나시레 모두 질 대로 요말래
So now we towards the bottom of page 244 and there is a citation from Refutation of Objections. It's the name of a textbook, Zhendo. And so as explained, whether Prasangiga mathematicians, debating with these other schools of thought, or the other schools of thought debating with them, this argumentation going back and forth, all of these things, should be seen as like an illusion, okay? Because nothing is intrinsically existent, so there is no such thing as argumentation in terms of intrinsic reality per se, And the example given is just like that of the truva, emanation, isn't it? The incarnation of some kind, right? So let's say there's a source of emanation, and this source of emanation will emanate, more emanations, okay? But all of these things are just like an illusion. The source of the emanation is illusion-like, and all the emanations go and give teaching and do the social service, whatever they do. He didn't say social service. I just add that one here, right? My footnote. That's all like illusion, okay? Or if we are at the magic show, right? The magician creates this fantastic elephant. Then that fantastic elephant gives birth to a fantastic elephant, another one. And these two elephants are fighting with each other. But it's just it's an illusion. Nothing is intrinsically existent here. See that? Yeah. So that's what is stated in the refutation of objections.
다 너도 유마당 세야디 그래서 내가 지대 용자 유마 세야다 송년 세야디 줌바지 거와 어디 빼셔 거와 저기서 데다 제도디 유니데 짠 요머리 해서도 말봐 줌바이나 그 유니 되게래서 유멜랑보 트네 지시도 유멜랑보지 미히게 그러와 근데 랑보 인생 지케식 파가디 미히게 말해
그렇게 그랬어
유마 유멜랑보 망보 트인저와 랑보 징니 랑보 가지게 가지 판바디 메나 요
알라
제디 유멜랑보 디데 미히 차 죽도도 와 어디 줌바이네 미히게 차 죽도 와 이지미디 차 죽서는 nemba chogo mari sigo ta de ga yutuba ne kai ji yutuba ji me ji ben khasa ji ji ni kai ji xue xian ge ji kai ji ning ge xin ya yo ma le wo jie de tie ga ga xue xie ba de ning ge du sa ge de ge lo jie de wo ro wo di se wa ta cha ji tie ya ge ji wo ro ma ji mo de yang tian me ge ji ma le ta ga ji ma de mi ji si di de mi sa mo dong go ro di ma ba zumba yin na chawa juk to do so
I got that very clear, so don't worry. So there is the mention of, illusion like Yuma, Maya, right, Tibetan word. So what does it mean? In our world, in the mundane affairs of things, illusion is something that's not regarded as being real, isn't it? It's illusion-like. Or the magic. Right, is if a magician creates horses and elephants, we enjoy the show, but we don't believe these are the real things. But they don't have to exist real for us to have the entertainment and enjoyment, isn't it? You can be at the magic show, okay, and maybe the magician creates, this like a whole group of people, and one plays the role of a Dharma teacher giving teaching. The other plays the role of listening to the Dharma. It's a fantastic show he created, But they don't have to exist in reality, but still they serve the purpose of entertainment, and we experience the perceptions, isn't it? We say, wow, that looks like a really holy teacher. Well, all that, devoted students are so dedicated. But it's an illusion created, but that serves the purpose, isn't it? So the idea here is, for the things to function, they don't have to exist intrinsically, okay? They can be illusion-like, but they can perform their functions and serve the perception, a function. That's what the Madhyamikins are saying. You insist that things must exist intrinsically, otherwise they cannot exist at all, they cannot function at all. But we respectfully differ from you. Hello. They don't. They don't exist, as a matter of fact, intrinsically, but they still serve the purpose, just like the magic and the illusion, Perceptions are generated, experience are there, So that's the main idea here, okay? No.
the symptom mentions the Ganza, Junida, Langdor, the Shashi Ganga, Lemba Mother Zumba didn't take mercy or that is considered that is Yumada didn't Sunyesa, the Jidena Yonza Zumba or teacher, that Jide tells in the Peku or Tigon, Injimaji, Jundel Langdor, Daniel, today in Injimaji, Yamato, Mario, Teres, or team.
So why is this a big deal, right? People think like, well, this, is because even in the Buddhist schools of thought, philosophy, Chittamatrins, mind-only schools, Semzamba, and schools below, they insist that things must be truly existent. If they don't exist truly, they could not exist at all, and they cannot function at all. So therefore, when they talk about cause and effect relationship, karmic and outcome, they say they must exist truly. If they don't exist truly, don't talk about karma. Don't talk about cause and effect because they can't exist at all. That's what their insistence is, And so here, the Pasangika mathematicians are saying, what? They don't have to exist intrinsically, truly. As a matter of fact, they don't. But just like an illusion and magic, they can still perform, right, function. Law of cause and effect works fine in that framework, and so does the karmic actions and outcomes. So we used examples that the people can easily relate to, right? I mean, we can easily understand the magic show. It's a fantastic show. You are entertained. You enjoy it. Magic is closed. Done. But it serves the purpose. Nothing exists intrinsically here. Or the reflection of face in the mirror, right? We use mirror to be for some reason and purpose, but we never believe my face in the mirror is the real face. It looks like me, exactly, carbon copy, but it's not real. I know that, right? But still it serves the purpose. It helps me to, beautify myself or whatever I need to do. That's what it is saying. Things exist, nominally, conventionally, like an illusion. It's okay. Don't freak out. I mean, he didn't say that, but another footnote to wake you up. Don't freak out. It's okay. It's just fine. No.
Ini tesa mazi ini denzin do na sangya da tarba thaya de chag mari si or da ko rangi to de na thangbo jodi gen khang shong me na ini jodi gen ko beba so thoya yo marwa odi ini chaji khaya thek mar ta dor se di na ini deba to son chaji khaya thek mari si or
So now we are at the bottom of page 244, that whole citations and Geshe's explanation here. Is remember, we differentiated what is refuted or negated, object of negation or refutation, like from objective perspective, from subjective perspective. Now we are one from the subjective perspective, which is the grasping at intrinsic reality or true existence. So that grasping exists, okay? But how does it exist? Like any other thing, it exists non-intrinsically. It couldn't exist intrinsically. If it does exist intrinsically, if it were to exist intrinsically, it would not have, it would be a dependent arising, right? Because dependent arising means things are dependent on either causes and conditions, are dependent on parts and parcel, or dependent on mental imputation, many other things, isn't it? If the grasping at intrinsic reality were to exist intrinsically, okay, then it would not be a dependent arising, which means then we cannot ever talk about getting rid of that grasping, because nobody can get rid of that grasping. Either that grasping should exist forever and forever, or it should not have existed at all from the get-go. Because there is no other option like, depending on causes and conditions, it can pop up, and by applying the antidote, it can go down. No, you can't talk because you said it exists intrinsically, So how can you affect changes with intrinsic reality by bringing some causes and conditions and antidotes and meditation? You can't. There's nothing in the world you can do about it. The fact that grasping at intrinsic reality is not intrinsically existent, right? Therefore, we can use wisdom as an antidote to counteract it, to uproot it, and then you find the liberation, and then you sing the song. I'm just kidding, he didn't say that, but so, you can be happy,
어디에 거자 제바 수이도 학문나나 수이디 디질랭가 랭가 디질 테메도 히 무기도 춘지발라서 라지연 랑유jem 저 메롱와다 제바 수이도 메롱와 수비 쉐로서 다티미다 상만노 취디 시디 단다디 딘진 셰디로와 다 딘지 소베 간지 쇼 강이나 쇼 탐제 이 게마다 밀음다 버리 뭐 이게래 네 데도 요 말이지 어디레스 제가 디레 유니 샤지 텐가 강가 밀음다 게마다 켈라이나 이 텐요월이야 로지 모터 메거스야도 디레지 제바 커렌티 이 랭가 요 말이지로와 어디 가르서 묵기다 로지 메디 게마다 유니 샤인자 텔랭가 수시도 말이지 and then sexually tamja ba maybe shero hiesong ba yang ronglu maybe so ma comment de ten rang yi ta me so bi shero sa ta dire sexually tamja message nga tamja message user wa odi rang yi tamja message ko ma ji 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 da me ta bi se che de rang yi dong ba se de tamja me thong ma le se ko
And so just as we talked about how, from subjective point of view, grasping at intrinsic reality is existent, but it exists dependently, not intrinsically, okay? And therefore, like any other phenomena, it is like an illusion, it's like a dream, it's like the reflection of face in the mirror, okay? And Prasangika mathematicians use these examples because ordinary people find it easy to relate this example because these are the examples of, right, that which is not real. And they said, still, things don't exist intrinsically, they shouldn't exist intrinsically, but they are like an illusion, like a dream, rather reflection of face in the mirror, they just work fine, so that's their position. So we should be able to apply this understanding of the concept to everything that is existent, all other phenomena, right? It's just a case in point, but it's applicable to across the board, so to speak, all phenomena. And another explanation Geshe gave is in the Chandrakirti's clear word commentary, Siksal, where again they quoted or cited the called Tamjame. It is as if Prasangikas have no position of their own. What it really means is Prasangikas have no position of intrinsic reality. That should be the right interpretation. It doesn't mean Prasangikas can have no positions at all. Prasangikas will never going to say like, we don't agree, sound is impermanent. Sound is impermanent. They agree with that. Well, it says we have no position, it means we have no position of intrinsic nature. Okay? So that should be the understanding.
So Ranglu Suyun Kursa Jukbali Cho Meba Sumban Ranglu Suyun Jot Midubi Jundi Rangi Deva Ted something. That did a conjure Suyun just in the Gasha Shajava, Sunjis and the Gabashaji. But in the Gasha, Nanga did anything she Gabata, any Paruba Famia, or did she did any Suji in the Paru Famia, the 10 Pamgore, take in the Madrid Pamgors in direction, Takon Station, and Nia Yomaris. In a Takon said the man in any tiny on the big any Gasha Namja Torres. Oh, they should tell you all John Mari. That today, on him to one day with any Suyung Jate, some Madis, did that was shown the only cousin Shazame or Shani. Any language war, this you might have today, Kelana, Cotaton Selmara, Cophamson said, the cockcats said, the Tiration Haga, but the country's castles and Zivashumara.
So we're on page 245, which I forgot to tell you. So Prasangika mathematicians, the top-notch mathematicians, I call them, right? The translator. So when they, from their perspective, all this debate and argumentations, among different schools of thought, is understood not in terms of something that is required to exist ultimately, okay? They exist just conventionally. So on the conventional level, people can hold different positions, they can argue with each other, they can critique each other and debate. That's all is fine. That's how it works, okay? So on that level, maybe somebody wins the debate, somebody loses the debate, but just leave it there. That's all it is. There's nothing more than that to poke, right? Oh, like, who's the winner? You mean, winner, just tell me, right? It's not enough, like somebody win, like, What do you mean somebody win? Who's that somebody? Like when you kind of poke too much into the ultimate analysis, the whole notion is that something has to be findable under the ultimate analysis, isn't it? But nothing is findable under ultimate analysis. So if you keep on doing that, it becomes an endless venture, isn't it? What do you mean? Who? Who won the debate? Who debated with who? You mean who with the who? Who's the who behind the who, right? There's no who, to be findable at the end. It just, at the convention level, he's a questionnaire, he's the respondent. Well, this win, this lose, that's it. Don't ask me who. There's nothing to be found at the end of this whole thing. So this is the Prasangika's viewpoint. Whereas many other schools, when they said who win the debate, who lose, you mean who? Then you tell something, who is that? No, who, really who? Because they think that something has to be findable ultimately, and Prasangikas are like, no, don't tell me that, Nothing is findable,
he so cursa that no more what the charge take more to do the Etingalia, you did long to take killing me, the Nepal land jam and do Sirova. So Curtis in the regime to show me, the battery show me, the Yadam, but you got killing him, miss. Killing me, she knows it any bit, 7 of Kaziko and I'll kill a Kakayo, Mercy Lanja, take Javando in the regime to show me, in Numerous love, Lanja Chassis or
So as we have said a few times that wherever statement which is attributed to the Prasangika Madhyamikans, like they have no position, they have no assertion, that has to be understood in terms of they have no assertion of intrinsic nature or intrinsic reality or position of that kind. It doesn't mean that Prasangikas don't know what they're talking about and they don't have the backbone and they don't know what is their position. They're kind of lost in the jungle. He didn't say that. I just threw that one out. That's not what it is, No.
No, that is how Moran Choyan.
So we're happy to stop there and welcome your questions and observations. I know. The men in the bookstore. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Oh, go ahead. Could you, give the... Okay, let me register this so that I know. This is page what? 245.
Good morning.
Right.
Okay, here I go with my silly questions.
So are you talk about findable something, or we're going to do conventionally? I'm just kidding.
Conventional.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, it's probably ultimate truth right there.
Okay.
All right. By meditating or contemplating on everything's conventional or intrinsic, right? Kind of same.
No, I think you're kind of scaring me. And say it clearly.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just want to, this helps us with the understanding of the importance of everything's connected without, nothing exists by itself. So that helps us with compassion, love, etc. Right? Okay, but and attachment for sure. What's a point of
for sure? I like that. Yeah.
But what's the point of understanding emptiness? Is it to make sure we don't take, like, for example, like our mother, or I want to, or things that are intrinsically, I guess, important to me. Is that what the point of emptiness, the realization of emptiness is, so that you don't forget to appreciate your mother, I guess? Or, that's just a vague example. If that could be translated to
Try
Geshe.
one more time.
Okay, understanding the ultimate truth.
Yes.
Okay, that nothing is interconnected with...
In and of itself.
Right. So does that... man, oh man. Maybe it's more conventional that makes you do that, but... What is the point of understanding emptiness?
Emptiness. Okay, no, that I got. I'll ask him. Sure, that's a good, clear question. But you said something about what's the point of understanding emptiness, and then you brought the mother into the picture.
No. The intrinsically, our conventional truth, meditating on that helps us not to forget about, like, like your mother and stuff like that. Like, if you really break things down, like.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, before I go there, I think this will help me.
Okay.
I think you brought. When you said that the mother is intrinsically important to me, what do you mean?
Well, if it wasn't for her and things that she...
I know you wouldn't be here.
Right, right. And we take that for granted all the time. So if we don't understand that Lee here or you or we're all connected, I would take you for granted.
Oh,
You
okay.
are me and I am you and,
Okay.
all that good stuff. I kind of understand that.
Okay.
But emptiness is such a vague thing to understand why, for me personally, I can't speak
sure.
for anybody else.
All right.
What is the true importance of understanding
Sure.
emptiness?
Sure. Thank you.
And then one more too, and I'll get
So you want to
I'll get
confuse
off the
me more?
microphone.
Yeah.
Now I understand dreams are an illusion, correct?
Yes.
But they exist intrinsically. Something created that dream for me to have it in reality in my mind when I'm sleeping or napping or whatever. So do you just let that go because it does exist, but intrinsically, but it's still an illusion, right?
Although we didn't say that it exists intrinsically and like an illusion. We mean that it is like an illusion, therefore it's not intrinsically existent. You just flipped it. But yeah, anyway. Okay. I think I understood pretty much what you said. So let me get back to Geshe,
Thank
right?
you.
So that
Thank you.
we don't monopolize the conversation between us because everybody's looking at us like, what these two people doing? This again. 동반이 세계는 게 고아 카보로 와게. 전에 디 코란게 다 강엔 디티기도 와게. 안에 다 이제 강가 투제로 초전에 시다 동반이 시도 가라다 최탐제 때는 요 바로 와게. 랑싱기 매 바로 와. 근데 이만 근데 동반이 디 안에 또야디 하고 내가 가와 투도요. 그래서 봐. 네 초전에 고 투제로 와. 배나 안 코레기 다 소소 미제나랑 야 계시 미요로 아마도 그러 와게. 근데 아마도 랑싱기 투도 있으면 팅도 와게. 아마 맨나한테 용쓰기 말로 와게. 제사 아니 그지 동반이 하고 배나 아니 아메카딘 삼세 세단 딘델 펜도로 다 가르래서 와게. 제 주와 당고대로 와게. 제 괜찮게. 아니 주와 니바도 슈르충도 되는 와. So I'll just do the one question at a time so that I don't confuse Geshe.
알레 this 세자 this 요래 런시 뭐로나 다 아마그 질렌데 삼야시고 와.
No. 맞다. 다 랑싱게 만루바 동반이 다 고바이나 와게. 다 아메 틸렌스 다 아마 있으디 인샤상에 아마 레스 와게. 인샤상 아메 거딘 삼야. 아마 딘데기 편도로 저 가르래서 다 내가 차야 돼. 동반이 하고 올라야 돼.
알레 this 요다 또마니 사고야 그래서나 다다 네즈세도 로기시인데 추케지래 되어 와. 제가 다 되게 가르쳐 너자 거기 장도 간가 어디 또 들리던 지가 그래서 와. 다 동반이 또서나 에네디 ngân lên xe thì có khi mà có lúc khi tôi được ta nên có ba nhắm chung được ta nên có cái người giao không được gang nên điều mà có duyên mà điều mà ra có ta nhưng mà gang sao để đăng sinh sự rồi tôi bây giờ tôi cái duyên thế đấy
다 아마를 여자도 콩으로 많이
아마
하셔서.
그거 쓸때 같이 신의 가지고도 가다 문제를 같이 해지 연구에는 어디 싸워 간가 densin 있어 거로.
Okay. So one at a time. So your first question, your question is, mostly is about what is the importance of understanding emptiness, right, of intrinsic reality, and how it is really related to, appreciating mom's kindness, whom we have taken for granted, and whatever, right, blah, 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 right. The rest is blah. So Geshe's explanation is that the reason why understanding and realizing emptiness of intrinsic reality is important is right now, in each of us, we, grasp at intrinsic nature of things, isn't it? We think that everything exists fixed entity in and of itself, right? Nothing is dependently arising, right? Innate, right? Not educated thought. It's just inborn grasping at intrinsic reality. But that grasping, which contaminates all our perception, is a wrong perception, distorted, isn't it? Because of that wrong perception, all other afflictions arise in our mind. Now we can go mad, right? We get angry, we get very hostile, we become very jealous and vicious, and we become, stalkers and attached and all of that. It's basically coming out of that fundamental grasping at intrinsic reality, which means we also see our mom as intrinsically existent, right? So that's why we can go mad with the mom, as if mom is really, or we get too much attached to the mom, all of those things. But if we understand emptiness of intrinsic reality, that will help us to be able to reduce all this afflicting emotion, hopefully get it off completely. So to that extent, we are able to have deeper appreciation of mom's kindness, and we are not going to get obsessively attached to mom. We are not going to get too mad that we are going to kill our mom. He didn't say that. I have to make it intense so that you get it, right? Because, things don't exist the way we always perceived it wrongly, isn't it? So that's the whole point, okay? So now I'll go back to the second part. Kalasa wale penataki milam da ane kalasa sunyin da diga kango jumbe pesha ruwage. Da kore samla milam na lo stede kaloji kalisha de be ruwage. Milam na ngone yor wa ruwage. Jede ko rangsing group stone de gudwage. Jeda ko da jumbe per kande sha su ruwage.
Ale milam na sia di kansa pe milam na ene pe mi nieta tang yo sa ro. Ene ta sa ge so de mi ya mare.
La re.
Yang ju chaga ma wo je ser mi ro de ni ni shibu ka wo yo de yo mare.
No.
Enti yo mara yo mara di.
Ine da kore milam ne kalu yebe ro cha de ro.
Da milam ne ka yo na shi cha wo da ko chu de ro wa.
La re.
O de ro wa. Milam da shi ta di da la tinde ko na sem to le ba ja ro ji se o ni don la ina de ga ya da du ya da mo che chu do wa.
La re.
O de chi de da mo to mo ne chang sang ko dem ba yu na. In ni si de zan ka do ga bo yu ni ni da de ko la ba le ya yung ko ra de yo mara da.
La re.
누구 싫어하는 이 시대다 동게요 말이 그 가가요 말아.
네.
다 대바에다 있는 이 시대다 있는 거도 뭐 있는 거 뭐 요거 지그러 봐.
La re.
다 제지 동야 나이 얘는 다 수바 나사데 레디 말에. 저 말아.
No. So back to your illusion question, and you use the word dream, right? Looks like in the dream, things are intrinsically existent, look very real. Okay. While we are dreaming, that's what it looks like. Okay. Maybe a tiger is chasing you, is going to eat you up, right? You're scared like anything. You're going to wet your pants, right? That's what it is. Or maybe you discover a treasure trove, right? You become a billionaire of some kind, you just don't know how to handle this happiness, and it looks very real, isn't it? Or some bunch of bad people come and they just beat you to hell, and you feel so much pain and crying and everything. But it is an illusion-like, isn't it? Because nothing really happened to you at the time. If something really happened, like say intrinsically that time, then when you wake up, you should still feel the pain. You should still be the billionaire, or you should have been eaten up by that tiger, which you are not, see? So it is an illusion like, which we experience, right? Happiness, sadness, all of those things in the dream state, but due to many causes and conditions, right? And therefore, it's not an intrinsically existent thing, okay? All right, I'll come back to you later. If you have more questions, I'll go to others. Oh, yes. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, let me.
So the meaning of non-intrinsic reality or emptiness of intrinsic existence means that nothing exists from its own side.
Yes.
Which also means that everything exists depends on the perceiving mind, on the labeling mind. That's one of all these three things. Now, do the Prasangikas, actually I know they don't have an assertion regarding the nature of functionality. All they have is that functionality exists, but they don't have an assertion, or do they? Or shouldn't they have an assertion like the Chittamatrins, for example? They have an explanation of how functionality functions. If everything depends, there's a problem. If everything depends on my mind, the functionality depends on my mind, there are so many perceiving minds. How is it possible for functionality to be, for a functioning thing to be perceived to be functioning in the same way, but so many different functioning minds? Chittamatris have an explanation of that.
Right.
Do Prasangikas have that? Why I know they don't. Why shouldn't they? Should they have one?
Sure. Good. Thank you. Koran kan shwe de dire gen. Da tin oma tenju be lo le ya. An chhe tam je rangshin ki mandu ba ro ba. Tong ba ni sla ya ton da di rangshin ki mandu be ton da le de ro ba gen. Se sa ane ta rangshin ki mandu sa chhe tam ba cha che te gyo re ten de te gyo sla ro ba gen. Re de oma tenju be Koran ki ta ba na ka sa ngobo de ge di ro ba gen. Tujin bi ngobo ro ba gen. Ane ka sa di cha che te ba di to le ya. 아니 오마 텐주버기 믹스에기 다 두주세 오마르바게 케드네 유럽 콜레스는 유지 말씀 챙도사 베나다 디 유럽바게 단다 샘삼바르와게 베나 샘삼바기 데세스 게고 유럽바 쉐탐제 비게 연다 가서나 아니 샘기 바자게 되는 파 샤버레스 라버바게 디세드 거라바 저다 제가 오마 텐주버기 다 자체 탭에 걸어라 봐게. 랑식이 먼저부터 시 랑식이 먼저 자체 탭을 라마도 지금 자체 탭에 가르를 했으나 와. 단다 센서만 신 대세들이 얘기 말 왔어. 여러면서.
자제 태워대 드세요. 대기면 자제 강아지 애들 가자에서 딱지시네. 딱동 저거 말라고 그러. 근데 지금 나샤세 지금 애니 지금 라서 우리도 라샤세. 더라 샤버도 가자라도 가서 근데 미지 용도서 미리 가는 거를 강벌에 드레지지에 용어라. 용도 없어. 미지 용도 없어. 다가랑 샤야 지금 타냐나 샤죠.
말로.
어딜 타냐.
다 간제 텐주버기 다 간제 겐디 가서 그래 단다. 텐데 탭에 지금 타냐 그 좋다 다가랑 시켜내.
되게 들어. 다 자기가 지대마다 직바 인식으로. 지대 요마마데 가 요마 지대 메마마 가 메마마 그랬지. 사지대서도. 어떻게 해요?
Yes, Geshe says that for the Prasangika Madhyamikins, their kind of position, on the functionality of things is this: that we agree with the world, how the world accepts, right, the cause and effect relationship, that whole functionality. They said it just totally goes with that because for them, the main important is nothing is findable, right? They don't come from the ultimate perspective point of view. Something should be findable, right? So nothing is findable. So if you say that, hey, he found some money, just the way world accept it, leave it. Don't say like, what do you mean he who, money, what money? You just don't go and poke as if there has to be something findable, isn't it? Or if we say that, somebody, whatever happened, we just accept it as the world accepts it. So that's their position. In terms of functionality of things, how, they said, we have no argument with the world. This is how it is, Yeah.
Okay, but this is a tremendously unsatisfying explanation. For example, just to give an example of Chandrakirti,
Yes.
He emanated the painting of a cow. He milked the painting of a
Yes,
cow.
yes.
No, he's the ultimate prasangika.
Yes.
Doesn't that call for an explanation? Isn't that a teaching? It's not just for the heck of it. He didn't do it for the heck of it.
Right.
The emanation, the fact that he did these kinds of things, that means that this this teaching calls for an explanation. How did he do it? That's my point.
Oh, how did he do it?
Yeah, it's not just
Right, he did it, but how did he do it?
he did it,
Right,
or
right.
the world
Right.
saw it do it.
Right,
Whatever the world says, it's not important.
Yeah. That this was that also again the when I think you bagi that then they charge it but jigdem karain but the lab side to kalako Geshe over the wagon. Jig the vocabulary shungum do sagarwa. Pena Takwana condition in a penangando Pandan Dawa remove all shoshu the sage or wage.
라.
Pandan Dawa Taba remove all shoshu the sage or wage. Says Antanti Tagas Pandan Dawa Juju Mandashan remove almost sure or again. Remember almost sure but rest go again. The almost sure and the country short to us did the shit was again. Remember almost sure again. In this all what I did, they said.
알레. 근데 뜻이거라. 나도 리모팔을 뭐 쉬어야 되는데 간도지다 강사 랑가 있게 말이. 다 강사 체 터월리도 아니 그 가서 노르기면 난가도 랑아니 세야죠 말이.
No.
노르기 무분 거라고.
No.
어디에서도 그 땡인지 또지 거기 용토거로.
No.
어디서 다
No.
리모팔을 뭐 쉬어다 리모팔 그런데 쉬어요 말이. 다데 가서디
당한저 터널 디 샤워 뭐
다
이유리 몇 번을 마셔지 말아.
오늘 진짜 리모팔도 뭐 샤자요 말아.
몰라래.
요마다 그런데 아니 가서 됐어 뭐라 다 또버 통보선도 된대기 더 믹스하기 비 난가도 나니 있어야지. 가르거나 좀 먹고 그게 용대 하죠라.
몰라래.
어디래지 용은 엄마한테 정로와.
몰라래.
다들 무슨 저 리모팔 뭐 샤지 그런 다 이죠.
몰라래. 알레 데디 알롱롱스 데 알레 똑은 남가다냐 말이 천재 마도 지다 리메버로 마도 신유에 말 못이 말
난가서 나지 있어도 엔티데 주루 야마성 때야죠 말에. 그래와. 어제도 뜻다 무슨 돈나네 버주디게 돼. 배지셔지야.
말레슨 디겐 직된 바데 게로 가는 저로 리메버로 오마 신에 직된 바데 딱 받으면 차로와.
데데 저 말에다 준루 차니 있어와. 데데 가도 들어가서 말이 가도 가서 나 또바토모 난가들 나니 있어야지 문제.
No.
아직 나니도 변조 농시해야 돼. 지에 눈고지야 쉬고 말와. 땡이지 그거 가갈래요 거로. 어떻게 있지?
근데 양 군대出고 말와게.
라.
데네 남가 졸랑가 니에베네 엔텐데 가에 먹고 그 지 중대나 그 가지 군대出고 말와게.
그래서
But 남가 졸랑가 니에베로와게. This is just to clarify so that I understood what he said. So don't worry about that. I'm just trying to get more out of it. 남가 졸게 ngani ba tokba yuna robage pena ngajun bena temde chebena gen bena da ji curious to na kala ya go mango chena ma siku gyujen salma jingo marwa ta 남가 세들 내가 가면 le dengar sa goroge 제대 안에 gyunje temde 시도
카도 그때 말했지 다 코베 초사 리바장 망보 신네 어딘데 손 망보 털된 손털 용거라 용데
no so because I was trying to get because you was a great example I was trying to get more out of that whole thing so I was adding my so that example of Chandrakirti milking the painted cow, you know, I mean that is to demonstrate the ability of his high achievement of meditative stabilization. Because in reality, nobody can milk the painted cow, right? I mean that's just against the law of nature, you know. But it's only to show that if you reach certain high level of whatever meditative power, then you have developed this power of any kind of resources. Pretty much you imagine whatever is going to happen, you know. And so then I was saying, like, doesn't that undermine the law of cause and effect, right, somehow? Because I'm thinking, for me, if I want to be rich, I have to work so hard for years and years, right? So then, I mean, if somebody up there can say, like, I want to be rich, and then he becomes rich, it doesn't undermine that, right? That's what I was asking. So I said, no, because the idea is, somebody like that got there is for years and years practiced, purified, right? Took so much effort and gained so much merit. So it's by the power of that merit that all this happens. So it's nothing, you know, it's for demonstrating that power, not so much the functionality of, you know, things, because nobody should be able to milk the cow. But from our ordinary perception, that's what it looked like. But actually it did not happen, you know. Yeah.
어제 뒤집니다. 다들 로기 다들 가도 레버리데 말바 그게 다다 나로 제가 도 스타 세 롭시에니 세 거로 키기 나로 제가 신스도
No.
그래서 다 나로 버제발 신네니 다 롱동로 힘나생 지기요사든 제니 인 세드 푸도 세 푸디 랑사 세 떠도
No.
다 말바 칼리시다 자다라
네.
아서 다기 칼리 드레 잡스 코스타 때 파버를 차도
No.
저도 이 샤우게 되어디 사고도 강가 세리 되어스
Ale. Ale.
투가
나로 샤보.
이유도 알아 이유도 샤우게도 파지디 뿌라 세리 되어스
Ale 사지간 걸로 세.
없으니까 어디 계셔도
So I just guess I want to add another story to demonstrate the same power. It is said that, which is outside our ordinary perception realm, that Marba, the great translator, he went in search of Naropa, right, the great Mahasiddha. And he found him in a jungle, kind of a lonely person there, you know. And then he, you know, saved gold. He worked many years to save gold pieces to offer to the Naropa, right? And he offered it. Naropa just, you know, just threw the whole gold, like a garbage, you know. And of course, Marba got disappointed. He thought, I worked really hard, you know. And Naropa realized that, you know, his whole mental attitude. And then what happened was Naropa must have used his power of realization that everywhere he touched, there's a gold. The whole, you know. So I mean, that's like this. I mean, certain power that thing in a different world system we talk about. You know. Any other thoughts? Yeah, one more question, and then she will have another.
The Chamatrans actually, they have a notion of the reason everything appears to function and appears the same because of similarities of karma.
Right.
Number one, and there is a second one.
Yeah.
Yes, which it's not. I don't know if it's known in the Tibetan tenets, but it's for even for ordinary beings, the one mind stream can influence another mind stream. Okay, so this kind of what Chandrakirti did as a result of his high achievement. Actually, everybody does all the time. We don't even know it. Do the Prasangikas have that? What do they say about that explanation? The functionality, what undergirds the functionality is the fact that similarities in karma and the mutual influencing of mental streams.
That's right. Yeah. Kurangkali shoji di zata bana tanda ke senza bagro ge. Senza bagro da ji tende chache tebe ko ji deshe ro manga kyung te ge ro ge. Bana ji khasa orda 디르바게 그래서 샘이 바자원 간가 샤르셀을 춘베로바게 다가는 신변나 미니 레튠버 준비 이나로가 레튠베기 리기 아니 권인이기 다 갈서 그래 소환 염용이네 더보 용아로바게 난 잠잠을 야 삼불 내제서 찍찍과 여베나 삼로 담아 되게 찍찍 숙련 때도 와게 찍 샘기 삼로 되게 샴바기 샘나 숙련 때도와 닌데 토리아 단다 오마 텐주버기 찍이 대세를 시켜 잡는게 잡이나 간대로 시작을 해서 그렇게 배나 레 튠베 강사게로 하게 아니 소원 염려 찍바 차로 하게 다 샘기 삼로 로다 찍바 이면은 샘기 찍질 수긴 되게 동하게 아 디데 콜이야 아니 디게 다 혼자 된데 자체 태베 콜 시기서 하게 제도 갈 오마 텐주베 디토알이야 아니 직 대세 시합은 간대 시작은 자야 여러 염을
다 됐어. 샘도 그런 상황으로 가려서는 됐어 그러다. 너 대화다 지다 뭐더나 속지에다 희바서야 돼. 카가치로 동북군이 내생도 카가치하고 그러와. 다 샘자발리들이 속도 희바니야 저월 되셔고 그러와. 자 속디에 그래서 그런 동북군 배 쇼도 카가 말해 했지. 속세야데 희베 그게 너무 레사는 디데지 너발 때네 수능 상조지를 뭐도 저 속고는 그게 희발라 말해 그게 로스 저지 면도 어디서 걸어 그게 다 수능야 아니 거지 건드디네 심마를 잡이나 비슬레지 빠르네 다 그게 어차로 지나 어디 디네 바싱으로 어디지 거래서 걸어 어디에서 걸어 그게 저어도 때 저거 있어 유도 유제 다 디네 대요 랑지우지 디네 텐지와가 다 유제지고 이거는 해야요 봐 어디에 로단으로 디네 있나 보다.
다이네 단다 배나 레 그 샘진 레 튠바다 로하게 소와 냠냠다 안다가나 신 샘기 슈겐 때에서 동하게 찍찍이 그래서 배나 다 찍 삼로 가르탄 거예요. 디 삼로 담아데 파노 거기 삼로야 아니 슈겐 때로 하게 파종과 삼로데 수 슈겐 때야 된대로 하게
알레
근데 콜이야 아니
파서 슈겐 대비하세는 다
근데 콜이야 배나 공마 텐주베 두주로 여러 배나 답변은 고랑을 라베마다. 배는 개인 라베지기 대변은 가도를 잠닝지 공부에 나라와게. 리셈디기 파종 잠닝지 제알이야 슈겐 테로 어디에 연구를 받아.
알레 소소닝지 고네 강사 딘데
파종옥이 삼로 닝지기에 삼로리아 슈겐 테토야 편준이가로 슈겐 테토에 되는 연구를 받아.
다다 생일라비 안도 디레 믹세 이기를 미게 당가서 몰름을 잡는 게 디레 가버려. 다 소소로 와.
네. 답변은 샘자베기 되는 시기를 시기 말이야.
심점에 디레 그미 현달에 시기지 현달에 디레 희위지 말이.
맞아.
소 내가 이제 가래 내도 간가 소소 세고야지 직바로 와.
맞아. Okay, I think the part that I couldn't get to Geshe is how you said from Chita Martin's philosophy, that experience point of view, one mind can influence other mind, right? So I mean that part didn't. Yeah. So that's like he said he has a hard time understanding it. Even if I gave my example, it didn't work still. So I guess you're right. So anyway, but something Geshe said maybe is very useful in a general sense is that in the Buddhist schools of thought, when we look at the lower Buddhist schools of thought, lower division. What is it? Vaibhashikas and Sautrantikas, the realists and the Sutra followers, for them, forms and perceptions are very distinctively, different. Almost as if they have nothing to do with each other. Forms here, put in this box. Perceptions in that box, label them. They have nothing to do with each other. Then comes the Chita Martins, the mind-only school. They bring them together a little closer, right? They say, it's not like forms is over there. Because everything is reflection of your mind and the karma and the merit, right? So therefore, they bring the object and the subjective together more, connected, right? And then you go higher up in the Prasangika Madhyamika. Sometimes we can talk about how just from the perception point of view, something could happen without need to be, So he thought this is something important to explain. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Geshe and translator, thank you so much. I actually today understood much better.
Oh, I salute you.
Yeah, because the last few teachings were so complicated to me. But today is much, much better. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I just today understood, I perhaps don't do anything in intrinsic part, objective part, but I can work in subjective part. So perhaps I try to work on about that to make things better around me. That's my idea. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Quran di shuro jesa da tirin de sungjuan nang de morang go kala kangsam se yabu chung srwage. Kaza tindang yema de bet ko tom chung sa ge rwa. 제자 안 코랑 다다 삼대다 드링 아주 유대 유전 시합으로 와게 에네 랑신주베 요 말에 에네 다니에도 요르세로 와게 다가나시 유전 경우에네 에네 직다 시합으로 와게 코랑 삼다다 유그 털다 가래 시라시라지 samlo tangme pene de ke samlo mes rawak da yujing ngwe ne rawak so samlo peje tangma na ji sang ro da ya tran ro de sam tang de yes da kwa ni je samji share rawak yes. So he understood. Thank you very much for sharing your observation. How you work more from the subjective level rather than object, thing. I think I have an announcement to make. Any other question? I don't want to shortcut you. Okay. Yeah, you can think more. I'm just kidding. He's my friend, so I can say anything. Robert. So the announcement is that GSTDL, the monastery here, is thinking of organizing a Yamantaka retreat. Yamantaka is, for those who are new, is Buddhist, what called tantric, esoteric, high-level meditational deity practice that requires receiving empowerment and then doing the retreat. So many of us received that empowerment from His Holiness in Long Beach, and some of us in other places too, and did a retreat. So people who received that empowerment and have never done the retreat because you wanted to do it, so GSTDL is thinking of creating an opportunity coming soon near you. The word I hear is August or something. Okay, now don't pin me down on this. I'm just a translator, say the blah blah thing, and that's it. I don't do any of the thing organizing. So if you are interested to join that, so please you can send an email to GSTDL, or you can call, or you can talk to Venerable Geshe here, Phuntsok, Lama Phuntsok, I should say, because we have two Phuntsok, so you get confused. Lama Phuntsok, the managing director, not the Geshe La who's sitting on the throne, that's Geshe Phuntsok too. We are confusing you all. So please email him, call him, talk to him face to face, and said you are interested and you want more information about what does it involve, what is all right. Talk to him, not to your translator. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, leave the translator alone. Yeah, okay, yeah. So we will do our dedication prayers in Tibetan and English and Vietnamese. Okay. So Manjushri prayer. Gange lo de timnye dinde nyinda namda rapsebe chinye denge jishe seje nyege tuwa leba kanda sebe zunra mare myndon dongen gese rozo gyunla boje taze yanla zhoje yang duda chedo nyumo nyilo leye chadro zheze jen mare myse dongen nyogo chinye zhenze raj dene daji saju tazi yundeng lunzo yazi tuyu ku juda juda talu me jambe yangla ndu om arabada na om arabada na di zenden gyöge kera vüze ge talu timu mümba rase ne kada tenju Lord Bowe, Nawan Zelo, Lord Yazu, Udun Bega, Gezan, Pumwe, Judon, Mimba, Demban Zila, Wando, Gijube, Chanyin, Shogun, so on the obeisance to Manjushri. Yeah. Can anybody start? I don't have the text, so. Yeah.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí ngài đều phục hai chướng ngại, tựa nhật quan lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim ngài bát nhã kinh thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báu, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thù thắng, cùng đại bi ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tựa từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử. Tiếng rồng vang ngài thức tỉnh hữu tình, thoát khỏi vòng luân hồi nghiệp báu, gươm trí tuệ ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn. Trường tử Như Lai tối thắng toàn giác, ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tướng hảo Như Lai, đi đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi. Ban pháp lực diệt phiền não vô minh, được chí sáng con thâm nhập nghĩa màu, pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận giải. Như rượu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, đàn xanh nơi trí thù thắng đại dương, hàng thiện căn như ong mật thọ nương, hồng danh ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lốp Sang Tenzin Quang Đắc, xin cung kính trì niệm.
Niyan